Ashonuwa and Ozale, her husband, were a very strange couple, as Ashonuwa was a husband beater. No day went without them fighting, or without Ashonuwa bringing her cane to give her husband the beatings of his life. A lot of times she would sit on him with her big weight and would beat him and would go ahead screaming, making the neighbors think that her husband was the one beating her. She also made him do all the domestic chores in the house. He would cook all the meals and dare not refuse, else she would bring out her long stick and give him the beatings of his life. She made him go to the markets to buy vegetables and all the groceries she needed. He was even responsible for feeding all the farm animals that they had. Her clothes were always washed by her husband. Even when there were no dirty clothes, she would still bring out her clean clothes and make him wash the clothes, and he had no right to complain. He would go to the market happily just to avoid trouble from his wife. But at the end of the day, she will still find reasons to complain and send him back to the market. She made life unbearable for him every blessed day. But their marriage wasn't always like that. They had a beautiful marriage and they lived happily together as a very wonderful couple for several years. But after a while, when the children were not forthcoming, Ozale's family began to worry, and they kept on calling him for several meetings, asking him why his wife had not conceived. And then meetings upon meetings upon meetings, and then they concluded that Ozale should take a second wife so she could start bearing him children. Because Ozale was from the masquerade clan, and it was a taboo for any man from the masquerade clan not to have a son that would take his place and succeed him when it was time. Ozale decided to confront his wife and tell her his family's decision to make him take a second wife. But she was very sad about this idea. He tried as much as possible to convince her that no woman will take her place in his heart, that he would always love her, and if she wished, that the new wife would remain in his family house and would not come into their home to disturb their marriage. Especially since it was his family's decision for him to get another wife, they would gladly allow the new wife stay with them. This decision angered Ashonuwa so much that she became a terror in Ozale's life. She became a husband's beater, especially because Ozale had told her that men from the masquerade family dare not beat their wives, that if they ever raise their hands to beat their wives, they would either run mad or go paralyzed. Ashonuwa took advantage of this fact and began to torment her husband day in, day out. As far as she was concerned, there was nothing Ozale could do to her. Several times, she even locked the door and prevented him from going to work. He would plead and plead, all to no avail. Let me see where he will get the money and the peace of mind to go and marry a second wife, she always thought to herself. By the time I deal with him and make him broke, he will not even have enough money to feed himself, let alone think of marrying another wife. I will give birth to a child. Just be patient. And even if I don't have a child, over my dead body will you bring another woman into this house? She kept on threatening him. One day, Ozale's mother decided to pay her son and his wife a surprise visit. she left her village with baskets of food and fruits and set out happily to visit them. When she got to the house, Ashonuwa was shocked to see her mother-in-law, as she has dealt mercilessly with Ozale. Ozale, who had been sick, had received the beatings of his life that morning, and he fell to the ground, lifeless, almost unconscious from the sickness and the pain that he received from Ashonuwa, his wife. Ozale's mother was shocked and angry to see her son in this condition. "What happened to my son? What have you done to Ozale?" she screamed. Ashonuwa could not give her any reply. She went straight back to her village to inform her entire family what she had just seen and to get help quickly for her son. She came back with the village native healer, and quickly they began treatment on Ozale as his condition was terribly critical. And then they sent for Ashonuwa to come explain what had happened to their son. Ashonuwa tried to deny having anything to do with Ozale's condition, but the neighbors were there to intervene and told Ozale's family everything that had been happening in their home. It was then they told Ashonuwa the truth about why Ozale could not raise his hands to beat her as a member of the masquerade clan. Apparently, he had lied to her. It was the tradition of that clan never to raise their hands in anger to beat their wives whenever she annoyed them, because if he did, it would force his wife into a terrible condition, which would either make her barren for the rest of her life or will make her paralyzed till her old age. Little did she know that Ozale was only trying to protect her. Now she was sorry, but it was too late. And any woman married to any member of the masquerade clan who also raised her hands against her husband would face the same fate of paralysis or barrenness. And in order to avert that calamity, she had to go through the Olohi ritual, where she will be taken by masquerades into the masquerade forest for the cleansing and forgiveness rites. And the only person who could avert all of this was Ozale, her husband. But unfortunately, he was in no position to help herself, let alone help her. The day the masquerades came to carry her for the Olohi rites, she took to her heels out of fear, but they soon caught her and took her into the masquerade forest for the Olohi rites. According to the tradition, if they found her crime to be less grievous, she would stay in the forest for 7 days. But if she was weighed and her crime was found to be terrible, she would only be returned after 7 years. Ashonuwa was scared because she knew she had dealt mercilessly with Ozale. She didn't know her fate. She didn't know how long she would be in the masquerade forest. But she had no choice, because her refusal to go meant either paralysis or barrenness. After 7 days, her people and Ozale's people came to wait at the entrance of the masquerade forest. They waited and waited and waited until nightfall, but there was no sign of Ashonuwa. Apparently, she was weighed and her crime were found to be too heavy. she would remain in the forest for the next 7 years. Ozale continued to receive treatment, and before long, he started getting better and began to recuperate very fast. After a few weeks, he was back to his feet again, hale and hearty. After about 2 years, Ozale's family decided that it was time for him to take a new wife. They visited Lanlime's family and asked for her hand in marriage. And joyfully, Lanlime agreed to marry Ozale. Happily, they got married in a beautiful marriage ceremony. Everyone who had known Ozale's story was happy to attend the marriage ceremony and rejoice with them. A few months later, Lanlime conceived and Ozale was happy. And Lanlime delivered a bouncing baby boy. Ozale was overjoyed. Finally, he was a father. After 7 years of cleansing, Ashonuwa was finally released. But the masquerade gods were kind, and they blessed her with several gifts. And one of it was the power to make women who had waited for so long to get pregnant, to make them conceive. Several women went to Ashonuwa, and she blessed them with babies, as many children as they desired. But she never bothered to disturb Ozale, as she had found a worthy purpose for her life, and was more fulfilled being a blessing to several women than being the wife to just one man.